Hello, sucky photographers. Wanting to get... I'm sorry. Omar here, and I used to suck too. Today we're going to look at some old photographs of mine, and I'm going to give you a tip that will improve your photography like immediately. All right, let me show you some of my old embarrassing photographs. Let's start with this because this is what a lot of us do. Hey, pretty street, pretty alley. Let me just take a photo of it. This is a photo of nothing. And when we start out, a lot of our photos, go through your photos, there's no subject, there's nothing happening. Now, what would help this photo is if there was a subject, something coming down the alley, some point of interest to bring your viewer in. Okay, same thing here. Pretty building, I try to take a photo of it, but I am down the street from it. And a lot of times you need to think about angle of your camera. So if you like something down the street, you shouldn't really shoot things at angles. I should have walked to the front of this building to really get a better perspective. So try to find the best angle of your camera. Don't just pick up the camera and shoot it from where you are. This is when we got back from Europe. I was obsessed with smart cars, so I saw one, and again, this is what I see a lot of new photographers do. The camera goes up to the height of you, and you're shooting, I'm shooting down because I'm very tall. I'm shooting down and for some reason the butt of this car. And so not a great perspective. This is in Newark, New Jersey. It's a cathedral. It's beautiful, but there's like too much sky on the side. I probably should have done a vertical here. So sometimes you need to turn your camera to maybe fill your frame with what's interesting to you. And here the cathedral was, but for some reason I have some buildings in the back and some crazy amount of sky. Here, a beautiful photo of my beautiful wife, but for some reason there's a woman in the back. She's the subject, not my wife. So remember, your photograph needs a subject, not a weirdo in the background. Change your angle. Same thing here. Had a beautiful red little scooter, had beautiful stone that the colors were complementary there, had some orange chanclas there. But what I should have done here is I should have gotten down on the ground and shot towards the motorcycle. Even the stairs that are there, I bet those could have been a good line in the corner of the photograph. And so, 15 years later, I can see the photograph in my head. But when you're beginning, again, hey, that's pretty. And the camera is angled down like this, okay? So get down low to the ground. Get down low to the ground. Another example in the market, the same trip, is pretty spoons. Click. Again, I sucked. I probably should have gotten the camera down lower, gotten closer to the spoons, move the camera around to get a better perspective. Another winner here. Oh my gosh. Take your time and make sure all the windows and all the doors are aligned perfectly. If you're shooting at a weird angle, you're gonna get weird lines like this. I wish I could go back in time. This would have been a cute photograph with a rectangle door, the little rectangle window, and in the corner, I probably would have had the scooter in the corner. Same thing here, shooting from the position of where I stand. And that is the biggest problem that I see from photographers is they just stand there, camera up to eye. No, bring your body down. Or with today's cameras and the flip screen, bring your camera down. You need to give your viewers a new perspective. And you, believe it or not, just changing your angle just slightly from here to here to here completely changes the mood of the photograph. And your viewers are going to be more drawn to photographs that have strange angles. An interesting or strange angle will make people say, oh, what's going on there? And will draw them in. And then you'll see that when we get that weird angle or a good angle and we add a subject, you've got yourself a decent photograph. Let's go. Okay, this is from the rainy day video, my last video. And when I was there, that's when I had the idea for this video because I was sitting there, I was trying to compose my photograph and I was like, no, ooh, this is better. And I was like, hey, this could be a video. I could show people, because I know as a beginner, you don't see these things, that changing your camera angle changes the perspective, which makes your images a little more interesting. So this is from my height, my 6'1" and 3/4 height. That's like 2.5 meters. or something like that. But anyway, this is from my standing height. And it's boring. It's a nice scene. There's a little bicycle, but it's not great. And here is an example of the whole scene. I chopped the bike at the bottom. Definitely doing something amateur on purpose here. Okay? Now, if you just get a little lower. So this is just going from upper to bringing the camera down level with the bike. So now it's level with the basket. Okay, and you could see the difference here. Let me show you. If I show you these two, see the difference there? So we got a boring one, and now we're starting to get straighter lines on the store, and you know, the line in the sidewalk is a little different. What about even getting lower? What about getting on the ground? Here the camera is on the ground. I actually have it on the ground shooting up. And so that changes your angle. Okay, so two different perspectives. These were done with the Canon 5D Mark IV. One that's kind of straight on and one that's lower. Now here's my thought on it. And of course this is just art. You could do whatever you want. But the one that's straight on to me would be better if it had a subject. Someone with an umbrella, a dog walking by, and you have yourself a scene. The one on the right kind of works by itself. It would help if there was a subject there, but because of its strange angle, it brings in the viewer like, oh, this is, I don't usually see the world from the ground up, okay? So think about that when you're shooting. How could you maneuver your camera to get a new perspective for whoever's looking at your photograph? Now, it helps if there's someone that walks in through your scene. And so here I had someone with a colored umbrella, and it added a little bit more interest to the scene. So if you're just shooting random things on the street that don't have a subject, you could wait for passerbys, you could wait for some interest to enter your scene. You do need a subject if you want your photographs to be better. So here I waited for a long time in the rain to get the right person with the right umbrella color, and it gave my photograph just a little bit more interest. Okay, and then I walked up and saw this little red scooter. I'm like a sucker for any kind of like scooters or any kind of classic cars in the street, which you'll see later in this video. And so this is a bad photograph. This is just a shot of, hey, I saw the scooter there. And if I walk, I was using here the 17-40. And this is like one of my favorite lenses. It's super fun to use because you can change the perspective by changing the focal length. And that's something you could do too, is you can shoot everything crazy wide and just like bizarro world, make, you know, if you shoot really close to things, it ruins, it like messes with the perspective. Or you can kind of shoot everything at 40. This one goes from 17-40, which flattens the image a little bit. So using a zoom sometimes is really fun to give different perspectives. So here's a super wide, and I moved up to the scooter. Now to me this doesn't work because watch your backgrounds. Just like that weird lady in the photograph of my wife, be aware of your backgrounds. And here the background is just like a white sky that is, you know, anything that's like overtaking the attention of your subject, you should get rid of. So here, the brightest part of the scene is the background and the sky. Get rid of that. So we want to get rid of that. So instead, I turn my body and I try to take the scooter from this way. And so now I have a background which is like there's a street sign and the building's back there. But also I shot this wide. This was taken at 17. Yeah, this one was taken at 17 millimeters. And I got low to the ground. So we're low and wide, okay? Then change your perspective. Move your camera closer. So here, again, I shot this at 17, but because I moved the camera closer, it gives a brand new perspective. I probably shouldn't have cropped this little mirror over here. That's such a bad mistake. But I know I was trying to keep the white sky, you know, to a limit. So if I would have spent more time here, I probably would have turned a little bit more. You know, I still suck too, you know? We're still all learning here. Now, add a subject. So I waited for a little while and I got two passerbys, a mom and her daughter with their little umbrellas. It would have been cool if they had a little color. If they're wearing yellow, imagine they were wearing yellow raincoats. That would have been awesome, but didn't have the patience. It was raining like crazy here. By the way, I was shooting with an umbrella on the ground there. And again, notice how low I am. The center of the camera, the center of the lens is waist level to them. I'm not standing there shooting the scene down. Everything is flat and level. Get your camera lower. That's the whole point of this video. Sometimes in the viewfinder, I have to figure out what works. You move your body and you also move your focal length to see what works. And this is an example of that. Sometimes you have to stand there and think for a little while. And I thought it was cool that this little window of the restaurant was framing a red car, a red minivan. I wish the car was more interesting, but it just looked like there was a painting in this little restaurant. So I thought it was cool to play with that kind of perspective. Now, don't think you need your subject entirely in the frame. So this building is on 11th Street here, is super interesting, especially when it grows its ivy. It's really beautiful. And I got someone walking across the street, but it's kind of a little boring. So I zoomed in instead. So I zoomed into 40 millimeters and black and whited crunched it. And this has a little bit more interest. You don't need the whole building all the time, okay? So you could zoom in and give someone a different perspective. Just show them a piece of something. And I just got really close up to the building here and waited for someone to pass by in the blurry part of the photograph. They probably thought I was crazy, but I was shooting these little weird, vine berries that were there. And it's a different perspective. You see someone walking in the rain, but my subject is the berries. And that's very nice. So get down low, and that lets you get a new perspective. So here I'm shooting up. I actually pre-focused here on this puddle and waited for someone to come by. I thought this was an interesting scene with interesting colors, but again, it's kind of like blah. There's no subject. So if there's no subject, move to a different angle and give a different perspective. So here we're at 25 millimeters and I'm down on the ground, and your viewer will say, oh, where is this? This is strange. What would have made this even better was waiting for an interesting subject, but I didn't. But someone with the right color umbrella or a dog going by, something funny going by, and that makes your photograph better, a different perspective. Blah, standing up there and just putting the camera up to your eye, or taking a lower angle perspective. I always love, when there's two buildings next to each other that are different, but have some interest. So here's some red, some yellow, complementary colors. But again, I want these rectangles and these squares to be straight. I don't want to be like, oh, pretty building, and shoot from the side. Now, this little scene was kind of funny. I walked up and saw this car, and there was a gentleman with his yellow jacket on. He obviously didn't own the car. I think the photo that I liked was this one here. His sleeves fit the car. But going back to perspective, let me start from here. You see a beautiful car, right? This is what the photo is from me standing over it. I'm like, oh, pretty car, click. And I think that's 10 years ago where I would have just walked away. And this is the whole point of this video is, I think you got the point, but work the scene and work your angles and hope for a subject, okay? So let's start with this. This is probably another photograph I would have taken back in the day. Bad angle, okay? I just like the car. I got lower, but the car is at a diagonal, okay? I think images are more powerful if things are a little straighter, okay? Now, I don't love this. This is a wide at 17 because I wanted to fit in the whole car, but your viewers are smarter than you give them credit for. They can fill in the blanks, okay? So you don't have to put the whole car in. You could just put a piece of the car, something like boom, okay? So now this is a little stronger because there's balance in the photograph. There's a doorway in the back. There are windows back there, which are shapes. You've leveled yourself off so that the car's line is straight. There aren't any funky angles. This is a flat photograph. Now, what would make it better? If there was a subject that came through, okay? Now, I actually like the scene. Where is it? I like this one. I think it's great. If maybe someone was sitting on the steps, it would be better. You can't always choose your subject if you're doing street photography, but I kind of like that there's, some interest there. I could have sat there all day, as long as the car was parked there, and waited for different subjects to go through. Maybe a complementary color. Imagine someone with like a red jacket or a red umbrella to complement the yellow. So this will make you better. Perspective, and wait for a subject, okay? Here's the car by itself, just a little closer, a different perspective. And now the fun part. You've taken your shot, you can work the scene, try different things. And now I'm shooting parts of the car. So here we got 40 millimeters, we're shooting the mirror just to get some water on there. And you could just, people don't need to see the whole car, they could just see pieces of the car like this. And it gives you a different perspective, different shapes. And what's neat is if we just look at all of these together, let's put all of these kind of together. Like all of these together, I don't know, the stupid FedEx truck back there. But anyway, all of these together give you kind of a story. Instead of just showing the whole car, you could show little pieces, and it draws your viewer in. They want to know more. And that creates interest too, a little bit of tension. And that's what life is about. Tension, anxiety, sadness, perspective. All right, I hope that helped you a little bit. I'll see you guys next time.